Benvenuti di nuovo. Welcome again to this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. We're going through the fourth and last meditation of Don Stefano Gobi that he gave in 2003 before all the members of Married Movement of Priests here in Italy at the International Exercises Annual. And the title of this, that you can find also written on the internet, is called The Victory in the Triumph of Divine Mercy, this fourth meditation. So Gobi continues, he says, the salvation of souls is the work that Jesus has entrusted to us. But the souls are saved like this. Then he quotes a message of Our Lady. He says, "Ascend with me the holy mountain of His divine humanity in order to become reflections of His perennial immolation for you. His eyes in your eyes, His hands in your hands, His heart in your hearts, His sufferings in your sufferings, His wounds in your wounds, His cross in your cross. In this way you will become the potent presence of Jesus, who by means of you can still today work mightily to bring all to salvation." This was a message July 16th, 83. Then we come to the fourth part of the meditation with the title, The St. John's of Jesus Eucharist. He says, "The place where Mary forms our priestly heart is the Eucharistic heart of Jesus. It is Jesus in the Eucharist that forms in us the priestly heart. Here, brothers, I invite you to read and to live the encyclical of John Paul II on the Eucharist, which is almost a repetition of what is written in the Eucharistic messages of the book, which are of incomparable beauty." He said, here we have here a message of Our Lady. "My beloved ones and children consecrated to my heart, it is you who must be today a clarion call for the full return of the whole church militant to Jesus present in the Eucharist, because there alone is to be found the spring of living water which will purify its aridity and renew the desert to which it has been reduced. There alone is to be found the secret of life which will open up for a second Pentecost of grace and of light. There alone is to be found the fount of its renewed holiness, Jesus in the Eucharist. It is not your personal plans. Our Lady does not say to not do them. Do them. They will tire you." And I repeat it again here. That was a parenthesis there. It is not your pastoral plans and your discussions. It is not the human means on which you put reliance and so much assurance, but it is only Jesus and the Eucharist which will give to the whole church the strength of a complete renewal, which will lead it to be poor and evangelical, chaste, stripped of all those supports on which it relies, holy, beautiful, and without spot or wrinkle, in imitation of your Heavenly Mother. That was a message August 3rd, 86. And John Paul II wrote, "The Church lives the Eucharist. The Eucharist forms the Church," in his encyclical Ecclesiae de Ecclesia Eucharistia. And Gobi continues, "And she forms it on the model of that which Jesus wanted as His mystical body. And look how well she forms it. She leads it to be poor, evangelical, chaste, stripped of all supports in which it trusts, holy, beautiful, without spot or wrinkle, in imitation of her Heavenly Mother. Go before Jesus in the Eucharist precisely to be the St. John's of His Eucharistic heart." And then he quotes another message of Our Lady. "My dearest little children, let your heart be completely immersed in the Eucharistic heart, that you may enter into a personal intimacy of life with Him. Jesus then takes your little heart, opens it, expands it, and fills it with His love. He loves in you and you love in Him. And thus you become more and more immersed in the stupendous vortex of His divine and perfect charity. Then, just as John was the beloved apostle, called to a profound intimacy of life with Jesus, living in His human body, so too you become a new John, called to have a profound intimacy of life with Jesus in His glorified body, really present in the condition of a victim and hidden under the appearance of consecrated bread, which is kept in every tabernacle on the earth. That was the message of March 31, 88. And then from the words of John Paul II, in his encyclical, he writes, "It is the responsibility of pastors to encourage, also by the personal witness, the practice of Eucharistic adoration and exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, in particular, as well as prayer of adoration before Christ present under the Eucharistic species. It is pleasant to spend time with Him, to lie close to His breast like the beloved disciple, and to feel the infinite love present in His heart. If, in our time, Christians must be distinguished above all by the art of prayer, how can we not feel a renewed need to spend time in spiritual converse, in silent adoration, in heartfelt love before Christ present in the most holy sacrament? How often, dear brothers and sisters, have I experienced this and drawn from it strength, consolation, and support?" That's from his encyclical Ecclesiae de Eucharistia. Then the Pope speaks of the necessity of the Eucharist. He speaks about the fact that the Eucharist is always offered in the name of the Church and for humanity. And so he continues with the Pope. The Pope says, "It, pastoral charity, flows mainly from the Eucharistic sacrifice, which is therefore the center and root of the whole priestly life. We can understand then how important it is for the spiritual life of the priest, as well as for the good of the Church and the world, that priests follow the Council's recommendation to celebrate the Eucharist daily. For even if the faithful are unable to be present, it is an act of Christ and the Church." And that was his encyclical of John Paul II. And Gobi continues, "Today there is added the new habit, strange enough, the so-called Eucharistic fast. This is a snare of the devil. Look how clever he is. Before the council reform, the Eucharistic fast was from midnight until the time of receiving Holy Communion. The fast was even broken by taking a sip of water. It was very rigorous. Now we hear of some priests and even bishops. I could give you the name of an archbishop cardinal who introduced among his priests to do the Eucharistic fast, that sometimes they skip the Mass, sometimes they refuse to celebrate. And I tell you, there are so many priests who do not celebrate due to this false idea of the Eucharistic fast. The Pope repeated that we must celebrate Mass daily. He said St. Bede, Venerable, he died in 735, monk and doctor of the Church, wrote, "The priest with no valid excuse who fails to celebrate the Mass thereby deprives the most holy Trinity of praise and glory, of delight for the angels, of the remission for sinners, of help and of grace for the just, of relief for the souls in purgatory, of spiritual benefit for the Church, and of medicine and healing for himself." And Gobi then continues, "Fellow priests, let us celebrate the Mass every day, even if we are alone. Let us celebrate it, live it, because in the Eucharist Jesus fulfills our transformation, and especially the transformation of the heart, working in us that which is our priestly holiness. Priestly holiness is achieved before Jesus in the Eucharist, listening to what He tells us, reliving it in our lives and in our ministry." May God bless you and Mary guide you.